Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a late night movie review. And as you can see, it's really dark. We are about midnight. And I've just watched the new release from Second Sight, which is the 4K of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Finally got this copy. This is the collector's edition with that amazing book. It's got 3 discs, it's got the 4K and 2 Blu-rays, which includes the Blu-ray version of the film and of course all the extra features and stuff. And it's got art cards in there. So I expect most of you probably already seen the film, and so I won't go too in depth with the synopsis. I'll just go through a little bit for you so I can show some clips. The film starts off where we see this sort of sculpture like in the desert of like a body being sort of like sort of on a sort of almost like a big pole spike as like a sculpture in the middle of the desert, and it's quite disturbing. So that sort of sets how the film's going to go, and we sort of will see these sort of like sort of flashes of camera going in this room where they're finding these body parts in this room. So we don't know what's going on yet. So at the moment, that's all we see. And then we cut to a camper van, a VW, going down the motorway. And then it sort of stops. And we see a guy get out and he lays down 2 sort of planks of wood as using it as a ramp, because one of the people in the van is disabled. Franklin, his name is. So this is a group of teens, and they're actually off to go and visit Franklin's and his sister's father's old place. I think he's left it to them, so they're going to go and see this old house that's been left to them. Anyway, so Franklin's he's exited the van because he wanted to go to the toilet. And as he's going through the toilet, a massive 18-wheeler goes by. And it sort of like spurts sort of like mud or whatever, and sort of like Franklin jumps, and then his wheelchair sort of scoots off down the hill, and he sort of rolls out and falls out of his wheelchair. Anyway, so we cut back to the van, and they got him on board again, and they're off back on their journey. And Franklin's talking about all sorts of things that are going on. And they start to smell something really, really strange. And it happens to be a slaughterhouse that they've gone by. And this is the worst bit of the film. It cuts to a sort of slaughterhouse, and you see like them slaughtering a sort of like a cow. It's not too bad, but it's still, I don't like to see it because I don't like to see that sort of thing. Anyway, they drive by the slaughterhouse, which stinks apparently. And they carry on with their journey, heading to where they want to go. And as they're on their way, they see this guy hitchhiking. And this is their first mistake. They stop to pick him up. We get some great photography though, and it looks really great. The actual remaster looks amazing. So they stop and pick this guy up. And we see them on board, and they're all staring at him. And he looks so freaky. He's such a nut job, this bloke. He's an absolute fruitcake. Anyway, so they ask him, does he work at the slaughterhouse? He says, no, my brother does, though, and my grandpop, and all this, and all this kind of thing goes on. And he starts talking about this stuff called head cheese, which they make from a cow's head, which I don't know anything about. But it's quite graphic and disgusting what they're talking about. And he's talking about this head cheese. And he sees Franklin playing with his knife, so he grabs his knife off Franklin, and then he goes to he starts sort of laughing and grinning strangely, and then he seems to cut himself across his hand, this hitchhiker, with Franklin's knife, and it freaks them all out. What the hell's going on? Well, no one knows. Anyway, he cuts himself with his knife, and then he gives it back to Franklin, and he shows them that he's got his own knife, like a cutthroat razor blade. So he shows them that. And then he gets out his camera. He's got this really old-fashioned camera, and he takes a photo of Franklin in the wheelchair. And so he sort of like he didn't ask him to take him home. He says, "Can you take me home? I don't live too far from here. Come and stay. Come and have some food with us." And I think so somehow. But anyway, they say, "No, no, you're all right. We're in a hurry." Anyway, so he gets the photo, and he gives the photo to Franklin, and then starts asking him for $2 for it. And Franklin says, "I don't want it. It's rubbish." And he says, "No, it's a good photo, $2 sort of thing." And he doesn't want to buy it. So then this hitchhiker gets a bit even more sort of mad and crazy, and gets his cut-right razor out, and then grabs hold of Franklin's arm and starts to cut his arm. So they then pull their van up to a halt as quick as they can, and they chuck him out. So they chuck the hitchhiker out onto the road, and then they sort of go off. And as they're going off, this guy sort of like headbutting the van and kicking it, and wipes his blood on the side of the van. And they all drive off, leaving him behind. So then we cut inside, and Franklin's all upset about his arm being cut and all this sort of stuff and jibber jabber going on. And then we see them pull up at a sort of garage. I think they're getting low on fuel. They pull up on a garage, and there's two guys working there. And the owner says, "No, there's no gas at the moment. I can't give you any gas." And he starts warning them to not go around anywhere around this area, because it's not a safe place. And he tells them about the two girls that have gone to the toilet, not to let them wander around. It's not a safe place. Stay here and have some barbecue. Okay, so that's what he says to them. Anyway, they decide they buy some barbecue food, and then they carry on their trip to find this house, because they're going to this house with the father. Anyway, so they're back in the van, and then they pull up eventually at the house what they're coming to see, and it's really beautifully shot. It's sort of like amongst this sort of like foliage and that, you see this sort of like part of a house. It's really nice. Anyway, so they climb out of the van, and again it's really well shot through the long sort of meadow grass. Looks really cool. So they get out the van, and we see Franklin in his wheelchair, and he's gnawing on some barbecue, but I don't think it is what he thinks he's eating. Okay. Anyway, then they notice that there's blood on the side of the van, and so they go. So Franklin starts to clear it off, while the other four guys, because there's two guys and two females, and one of the females, Sally, I think her name is Franklin's sister. They've gone into the house to have a look around, and we see inside the house, and it's all sort of like run down, desolate. There's nothing in there or anything, no electric, no water, no furniture. All we see in the corner room is a massive group of sort of like daddy long legs spiders, you know. They're sort of really venomous spiders. And they're in the corner of the room. And then we cut to see Franklin, who can't get in to the house properly because of his wheelchair, getting really upset and annoyed with himself, and then annoyed with them for not helping him. And two of the couple decide they want to go and explore outside. And so they go off outside exploring, and whilst they're doing that, they see an old house in the distance, but they can hear like a sort of motor running. So the guy's thinking, gasoline, you know, maybe we can go over and see if we can buy or borrow some gasoline off these guys so we can keep moving. So they go over to this house, make their way over there, and we see the house. And it's first of all, before they get there, they stop off and they see this area of like old cars, load of old cars, sort of all broken down bits of cars. I wonder who they belong to. So they see them, and then they sort of wander towards the house. And the house looks really pretty from the outside. It's really nice. It's like an old sort of like white wooden house, which most American houses are wooden. And it's got like an old porch, well, a big swing in the garden, and we get a view of the house from the swing. And it's really nice. So they approach the house, and the guy knocks on the door, and there's no response, nothing. And then something drops on the floor, and it's a tooth. Anyway, he gives it to the girl as a present, and she gets the and she sort of walks off towards the swing, and he still stays there, trying to knock on the door. He keeps knocking and opens the door, but no one's answering or anything. So he's starting to think about, well, there's no one there, and he's going to go away, I think. But then he hears a noise, a really strange noise coming from the back. It sounds like a pig sort of squealing. So he opens the door, and he says to the girl, I can hear someone in there. So he opens the door, and you can see this back room. The back room's got this sort of red wall with all these sort of like bits of, I don't know what's on the wall. Looks like bones and all sorts of things, feathers. And he walks towards this, and then sort of slips and trips on this metal sort of ramp that goes into this back room. And as he does that, we then see Leatherface for the first time. And he comes around the corner with a sledgehammer and knocks the guy on the head. And then you see the guy lay on the floor, sort of like convulsing and sort of like, you know, his body sort of like shaking and that. And then Leatherface drags him in and then shuts the door. So they've ended up in the wrong house, Leatherface's house. And that's all I'm going to tell you, just in case you've never seen it. So this is just like the first sort of 20-25 minutes of the film. And so now two of them have turned up at Leatherface's house, and one of them has already been killed. So what's going on? What's the deal with this hitchhiker, strange bloke? And what's the deal with the strange guys that work at this garage? I mean, especially the guy that owns it. It looks really, really strange. And what is that barbecue they're eating? All these questions and more will be answered if you sit and watch the film. What do I think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre? It's an iconic horror film, isn't it? It's just iconic. It's an amazing film for its time. Now it's looks a little bit dated now, but for its time it was shocking, and it was really, really sort of like a really disturbing film. The pluses of this transfer, oh my goodness, it looks like it was filmed now. It looks stunning. I've never seen this film look this good. It looks absolutely stunning. There's some areas of grain still, which is cool. I like that anyway. But the clarity and the crispness of the picture and the colour looks absolutely vibrant. It looks like it was filmed now. Absolutely stunning transfer. The story's good. The acting is questionable, of course, because it's 70s exploitation, unknown actors and actresses. But for what it is, it's really, really cool. Leatherface has still got that amazing screen presence. In fact, Leatherface's family still have that bizarre way of capturing you and making you want to watch to see what antics and what bizarre things they've been up to and what they're going to go through. There's some good killings in the film. It's very quick pace. It's not a slow film. The first 15-20 minutes is a bit slow, obviously with the hitchhiker and stuff, but then once you get to the house, the film just moves along really quick, and that's great. Negatives of the film, it's that, you know, it's got this reputation of being this gory video nasty, and there's absolutely there's minimal gore in there. It is very disturbing. There's some shocking imagery going on in the film. Bodies in the freezer, sort of bones and stuff all over the floor. These sort of sculptures made out of like human, it's like bones and remains, and some sort of torture elements going on in the film, which is very disturbing. It is still a very disturbing film, but it lacks that gore. That's the only negative to me. It lacks the gore. So I'm going to score this film on two ways. For this edition and picture quality, essential, 10 out of 10. Movie itself, awesome, 9 out of 10. It drops a point just because it has aged, but it's got no gore, and I don't think it really lives up to that reputation of being an absolute, disturbing, gory film. It hasn't got that element to it. Disturbing, yes, and that can hold up in some places, but it is a little bit dated now. But for his historical and iconic sort of movie, it's a very important horror movie. It opened the avenue for all these exploitation films, horror films that were coming out, and it sort of like was really one of the early sort of slasher movies, and it's just really, really cool. And it's all based on, it's lightly based on an American serial killer, Ed Gein. Now, but if you want to see a film about Ed Gein, watch Deranged. That's more sort of disturbing than this. We'll look at that one day, Deranged. But it's very quite similar in the sort of film. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 9 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you thought of it. I think the film is iconic and it's amazing. Leatherface has got this real screen presence, just like Michael Myers, just like all these other sort of like big killers and stuff. He's got that sort of iconic thing, and that's what draws people to the film. And any title, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is going to draw you in anyways, and it says everything about the film. But there's very little killings of a chainsaw in there. But anyway, great film, 9 out of 10. Until my next video, guys, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzlewell, I Am the Ice Lord, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Sarah of Horror. All great channels. Till next time, look after yourselves, don't have nightmares, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.